So, ARK Ecosystem. Tell me something about your community. Tell me. Okay, if you were to sum up ARK community in 5 words, what would you say?
5 words. All right. Yeah, I've definitely been
Five
asked
words.
one word before, but 5 words. All right. So we're going with a haiku style. I would probably go with the simplest way to blockchain, which is ironically our slogan right now. So very fitting.
So, okay, so let me think. So, blockchain is everywhere around the world right now. It's said to be the biggest revolution since the internet. And there are a lot of blockchain application projects out there at the moment. What makes ARK ecosystem so special?
Oh, well, it's a great question, actually. And it's interesting because ARK has been around for a long time. We really like to see all this growth and development in the industry. We're seeing a lot of great businesses coming out, great service providers to help out the industry. But to be some of the OGs in the space, it's interesting to see where we came from. When ARK first started, the blockchain industry was nothing close to what it is now. And I'm not just talking about size or important people talking about it or companies holding Bitcoin on their balance sheet or anything like that. I'm talking about just the technology itself and how difficult it was to use back then. Like running a blockchain wallet was very nerve wracking. With every single transaction, you're always sweating bullets, wondering if you typed the address wrong or, these menus are complicated and all these other things, right? So ARK came about to really simplify things for both users and developers. We're trying to put that into practice by releasing products that empower users and developers to harness blockchain technology and get more confident in being a power user of this new tech that's exposed now to the world. One of those examples is the ARK Deployer, deployer.io. That is a front-end interface that allows developers from all walks of life to launch a blockchain quickly and easily with just a few clicks. One click and all the background processes happen automatically. All the nodes get set up and you have your very own blockchain. You can do whatever you want with it. It's pretty cool stuff. So that's just one
Right,
example of the way that we're the simplest way to blockchain.
right. So in a way, you are simplifying the so-called complicated process of blockchain and making it available to people who don't have a tech background.
Yes, exactly right. Exactly right. And we're honing our vision to bring a product family to the market that's cohesive and feels like the same product family across all the products. So something that comes to mind here would be like the Adobe Creative Suite. You have Adobe and then you have all of Adobe's products, but no matter which one you're using, you have that same Adobe feel. We've had the
Right.
pleasure of releasing different products throughout the years, along with our core software, which runs the ARK public network. And we're taking all of that and we're utilizing it ourselves, almost like we're our own customers, to create new platforms that help users and developers.
Tell me about the vision behind ARK. What started off this company? What was the initial thought that, what was the necessity that made you realize, okay, this is something that, we need to get into?
So I did not have the pleasure of being there when ARK initially first started, which was mid to late 2016. I actually ended up
Mhm.
joining the team in fall of 2018, but I'd been a longtime community member of the ARK community and then was hired under the team from there. I guess you could say I got headhunted, right? But
Right.
the origins of ARK is very interesting because 27 co-founders from all around the world who were mostly part of the Lisk community at that time, which is a different blockchain project, came together and they said, look, we want to really make this easier. It's very, very complicated. There's a lot of spaghetti code going on with Lisk. Not to like put them down or anything, but Lisk was a fork of previous platforms before that. BitShares. BitShares was a fork of previous platform before that. Crypty. And so like with each of these new generations, the code was getting more and more discombobulated. And so ARK co-founders came together and said, look, if we kind of go clean slate with this, we know that JavaScript is one of the easiest languages to work with. We know that there's over 11.6 million JavaScript developers worldwide. So it's a great option for building blockchain technology with, especially if we want to empower developers to tweak the blockchain in any way that they want. We know that, but the code base itself, the API, the core stability, the performance can be improved. So they ended up launching ARK on this foundation, along with the concept of interoperability, connecting different blockchains together. ARK aims to be a type of blockchain switchboard where many different blockchains can connect and communicate with each other through ARK. And that vision was realized with the Community ACES project back in the early days, ARK Contract Execution Services. The testers were able to successfully trigger an Ethereum smart contract using the ARK blockchain, which was a really cool thing to see. And the ARK ecosystem will eventually be a network of ARK-based chains that interact with each other and the ARK public network with the ARK crypto asset at the center of that main network.
Right. So how did you get involved into the ARK community itself? What was your introduction?
I was on Reddit looking at all these different other coins because there's more coins besides just Bitcoin. And I found that a lot of the Reddits were full of people who were, I don't know, less than kind, I guess you could say. Like you ask a question and they're like, oh, get out of here. Just go Google it. Like, what are you doing? What are you doing? And so as I kept going, I found ARK, the ARK subreddit, and they were all super helpful, kind, friendly, like people I would actually want to hang out with, have a drink with, have lunch with. And I really attached to that community. Then once I researched what ARK was trying to do, it really made so much sense to me because I think that solutions that approach the industry in its entirety have a really good chance of becoming successful because it really envelops every part of the industry. And so that's what ARK's always been focusing on, connecting different blockchains in the industry, making products such as Platform SDK to allow developers to connect to different blockchains in the industry. And now with Market Square, presenting the industry to users and developers, blockchains and businesses in an easy, concise way. I mean, it just really makes sense to me. And it helped me learn about the entire industry kind of all in one go. By following ARK and learning about what ARK is doing, I've learned so much more about overall blockchain than I would have if I was a member of a different community. So I think that's a pretty cool thing.
Right. Can you please tell us about the cool poster behind you? The one which got ARK written over it.
Interesting story, right? I didn't just get it on Amazon. This poster was commissioned by me to a delegate of the ARK Public Network. Now, the ARK Public Network is run on delegated proof of stake, a modified version of delegated proof of stake, making some improvements on it. And one of the delegates is called Delegate the Golden Horde. They're responsible for doing different types of custom artwork and all types of other creative things like that. So we commissioned them to make this poster, and we had 2 copies printed, one for a prize, a trivia competition that I ran in LA in 2019, and the other one sitting right behind me. So yeah, great stuff. And thank you, Delegate Golden Horde.
Beautiful, beautiful stuff. So like you said, you guys started off in 2017, and since then, community has been building up a lot. I mean, I believe you have more than 4 million plus transactions till date. It's a very big number, and you also have a very strong followers count. Now, what makes you think, like, how are you guys so successful in a span of just 4 years? How did you become so popular? What helped?
Personally, I think that a lot of people are interested in ARK because of the way that we prove our mission in making blockchain easier to use, easier to understand. And I think that's a big need in the space right now, much larger in the past, but still a very big need. Some random friend or coworker that you might be talking to about blockchain technology just last week might still have no real grasp of what it means, what it can do. Now, luckily, now in 2021, there are so many valuable products and services that appeal to regular everyday people. Things like blockchain games. We were just a participant in DigiCon last week, a conference put on by Splinterlands that supported blockchain-based gaming. We were able to see all these cool examples of real blockchain games. And
yeah, how different are blockchain games from regular games?
oh, well, sometimes the difference can be night and day, and sometimes you barely notice. But I guess the strengths and advantages are there, just kind of under the surface of the water. An interesting blockchain game that I think is really cool is definitely Splinterlands. It's a blockchain-based trading card game similar to Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone that allows gamers to collect and trade NFT-powered cards to prove their digital scarcity and their authenticity, and they use those cards to actually play the card game and battle other players. I mean, this really brings some huge advantages to a game like this because you can prove authenticity, you can prove scarcity, and the players have true ownership of their assets as well, as opposed to Hearthstone, a digital trading card game that is centralized. The players do not own the actual digital assets that they play with. So I think that definitely shows how blockchain can really empower gamers and game developers. In fact, I would ask everybody listening to check out our Market Square YouTube channel, where we recently released the blockchains of Ready Player One. And that video covers the movie Ready Player One and how it could be powered by blockchain, talking about real services that are already powered by blockchain, including VR experiences like Somnium Space.
Fantastic, fantastic. I'm sure our listeners would love to check it out. Now, since you mentioned Market Square, I would like to cut to the chase. Now,
Mhm.
ARK Ecosystem has been making some very interesting strategic partnerships with organizations like Electronium and Anytask. Before you talk in depth about Market Square, tell us about the process that led to it.
Market Square has been long in the making. I would say even before ARK existed. Some of the co-founders, including Matthew DC, the chief strategist of ARK, they were really playing around with this concept of how do we present the industry to the mainstream in a way that they can get to the real products and services that appeal to them and apply to them the quickest and the easiest way possible. And there has been a lot of different marketplace ideas that have been thrown around. And we've seen in the industry over the years, different types of resources come about, things like coinmarketcap.com, things like DApp Radar, right? But the interesting thing about the current resources that are out there is that they're generally focused on a specific niche of the industry or a specific type of information. And they often lack the connection element, the social media aspect, the connecting with each other, the community building aspect. The Market Square vision is to bring all of these aspects together into one platform that gives people one place to go for the most relevant information, allow them to connect with their favorite blockchain-powered projects and businesses, as well as each other, and build community. We feel that putting utility first will benefit both blockchain projects that want to build a community of actual users and not just speculators. And it will also bring users together by quelling tribalism in the industry, where it's like, well, our ecosystem is the best and our coin is the best and we don't want to hear about anything else. Market Square is trying to address that issue in the blockchain space as well. So this is essentially, in a nutshell, what Market Square is trying to do.
What could be the potential challenges in making Market Square a leading platform?
Of course, there's always the inherent challenges of being a new operation, a new project, a new brand, right? We're launching a new sub-brand under the ARK brand. It's a different brand, Market Square. There's always going to be those initial challenges of just having something new, trying to break into the space, trying to cut through the noise, right? But it's uniquely challenging in the blockchain space because, as I mentioned earlier, the industry is just intrinsically so difficult to grasp for the mainstream everyday person. And so we're trying to battle those challenges while at the same time battling the challenges of just a standard issue startup mentality, right? Of just getting out there, getting buzz going and everything. But what we've found is that we have so many allies in the space as we've built so many of these partnerships and had all of these organizations, projects joining with Market Square ahead of the public beta launch. We're making content for them already. We're making YouTube videos for them on our Market Square YouTube channel. We're releasing blog articles about them. And they really have the same goals in mind as we do, to just make it easier, right? Make it simple to build a community of like-minded individuals that really want to actually use blockchain and do cool stuff with blockchain. It's about a lot more than holding, especially in 2021.
So recently, I was interviewing a gentleman, and he made this very interesting statement. He said that the rise of blockchain is a hidden revolution because it's game changing. The possibilities are game changing, but a majority of the world is still not aware of the tremendous potential of blockchain adoption. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think it is a hidden revolution?
I think the proof is in the pudding when you look at the actual technology itself. The actual technology itself really encapsulates that concept of hidden revolution, right? Because when Bitcoin, the first majorly adopted cryptocurrency and the most famous one, when Bitcoin was first growing, it was a young network. And as a proof of work network, Bitcoin was highly susceptible to attack. So it's almost miraculous that Bitcoin was able to gain this much hash rate and stay secure through its adolescent puberty years, when it was more vulnerable to attack, 51% attacks and all different kinds of other attacks. So we stand here today as a result of that hidden revolution. I think that if it was a very public revolution back in 2009, where you saw Bitcoin signs everybody at Occupy Wall Street, right, in Central Park with Bitcoin signs in 2009. Like, it just came out last week. This is the answer. We would not be here today. This industry would not probably be here today. You gotta go under the radar on stuff like that. So yeah, I think it's a really exciting thing, and it's interesting that Bitcoin, people are talking about it as digital gold, right? So Bitcoin could become the world reserve currency that countries are using to kind of maintain their balance sheets and figure out who owes who what and who has what assets and all that. Like, Bitcoin could become a world reserve currency. I mean, especially with all of this money printing that's been happening. I mean, over 20% of all US dollars in existence were printed in 2020 alone. And if that doesn't stop anytime soon, then other countries are going to start losing faith in the US dollar as the world reserve currency. And so, like, what's the next step? Well, probably a currency that governments can't control the inflation of, which is Bitcoin. So, and I'm not saying that like Bitcoin will definitely go to $1 million or whatever. And I'm not saying anybody should buy Bitcoin based on what I just said, but these are the types of things that I think about, So I am here and you asked me, so there you go.
Yeah, this one's a bit of a fun question. So the very word ARK itself, why the word ARK to define your community and the company?
I don't believe I've ever been asked this. So yeah, that's a great question. And people think that there was very deliberate thought behind the word ARK and how it was used in biblical times to save Noah and his family from the flood that's coming, right? The flood of fiat printing, endless fiat printing. The flood is coming, right? The real story is a little bit more, run of the mill than that. We chose it because it started with A. So it's going to be good alphabetically speaking, started with A. And also it was short. And so ARK was born. That's pretty much as I understand it, how it went down.
Right. So 5 years down the line, do you guys have some exciting projects or some vision plan?
Right. 5 years. I mean, 5 years specifically, I'm not sure. I can tell you that through solid financial management, ARK is now a well-funded entity with many years of development. So 5 years from now, I do know that ARK will have plenty of funding left over for even more years of development. But the future is going to bring some really great stuff coming out of the ARK ecosystem. It's going to bring things like, as I mentioned earlier, the redesign of the ARK Deployer, which completely automates all blockchain creation aspects. You can customize your chain right inside of a web browser. You can launch your chain on nodes. There's no coding involved. There's 0 semicolons. There you go. Also, and that's coming out sooner than 5 years. I mean, that's coming out like very soon. And then Market Square also coming out very soon. But as we see with big platforms such as, Facebook and Twitter, and there's YouTube, there's always, new features to add. And so Market Square has a very extensive roadmap for different features that we'll be adding, things like promotional updates, like advertising, promotional posts, blockchain powered transactions, bounties, job boards. All these other things are coming into Market Square. So we'll never really stop iterating on Market Square. It's going to continue to go, and hopefully that we'll be able to grow that into a big industry staple for people to come to learn about blockchain. Wow, there's just so much coming.
So with more adoption of blockchain around the world, there are a lot of new players entering the market. Now, unfortunately, even though ARK Ecosystem, you folks simplify the entire process, there's still a lot of technical information people need to know when they're getting into it, right?
Very true.
So, so how can a beginner make their way around the labyrinth of blockchain?
Well, hopefully they'll be able to do that with Market Square when that comes out. That's kind of like the dream, right? But what resources do they have now? Well, I spent a long time creating a lot of podcasts. The official ARK Crypto podcast at podcast.ark.io actually ended up making 100 episodes. Took a couple years. They can learn about blockchain technology, not just ARK, but blockchain technology in general, and how ARK can be applied to our current problems of today. All of those things, they can do that by listening to the podcast. They can do that while walking their dog. They can do that while cooking dinner. So it's a really great way to learn about blockchain by doing that.
Right, Justin. Thank you so much. I believe I'm done with the questions I had to ask, unless, of course, there's something you want to add from your side.
Oh, no, just wanted to tell you how much I appreciate being here, and really like the questions that you asked. Learn about ARK at ark.io. Subscribe to our YouTube channel if you want to see more of this poster. I make videos on the YouTube channel, so you can do that at ARK Ecosystem, youtube.ark.io. And then the Market Square YouTube channel has really cool videos, such as the blockchains of Ready Player One. Subscribe to that channel. Go to marketsquare.io and see all of our stuff there.
Right. Thank you so much, Justin. It was great having you over here.
Thank you.